some really big injury updates and a couple little tidbits hidden in that injury report that I want to talk about as well. Let's get into it. So we'll jump straight into what is going on. So Collingwood just released their injury report as of Tuesday, the 3rd of June. There are some new updates like Pat Lipinski went into concussion protocol, so he's obviously not going to play this week. Will return after the bye, so he'll be ready to go for St Kilda if there's no lingering concussion. Now remember, Lachie Schultz, they pulled him back for one extra week with those lingering concussions. So hopefully there's nothing like that from Lipinski. So by all means, he should be ready to go for the St Kilda game. Now the first bit of really big news is that Lachie Schultz has sustained a moderate grade hamstring tear to his right leg. That sucks. So we thought that, it'd be 2 or 3 weeks and he'd probably be back by the St Kilda game. Now, he won't be back for another, what is it they're saying? They're saying 5 to 6 weeks for full fitness, and that's not even match fitness. That is just full fitness, which this guy just can't get a run on it. Like, the start of the season, he had an incredible start to the season. He won the Pratt medal against Carlton, and then after that game, did his hamstring, was out for 3 weeks, comes back, has gets concussed. He's out for a few weeks, and now he comes back, does his hamstring. Now it's 5 to 6 weeks, so it's even worse. And I think that is on the same leg that he did that strain, which he was out for 3 weeks. This is, it's really, really unfortunate, not only just for the team, but for Lachie Schultz himself, because much maligned last year, and now he's coming into really good form, and the Collingwood army are behind him because there was a lot of people that didn't, that weren't behind him last year. He's coming to really good form, and he's done for up to 6 weeks. This is a player that you want fit and firing, and thankfully, positive from a negative is that he's done it now, and we do have, we play one game in 22 days, so that's one game in 3 weeks pretty much, so 6 weeks minus those 3 weeks, so he could come back, I think. What is 6 weeks? I think it's the Carlton game. Okay, I just checked. It's not the Carlton game. 6 weeks from now is pretty much the Gold Coast game. So the Gold Coast, we play them on the 11th of July. 6 weeks from now is the 13th. So he actually could play against Fremantle on July 20th, which is a Sunday. That would be the game that they aim for. I know 5 to 6 weeks, they said. I'd be conservative. I probably wouldn't take him to the Gold Coast unless he, has a speedy sort of recovery and put him up there. But it looks like, as of right now, that the Fremantle game is the one they'd be aiming for, which is in about 6.5 sort of weeks, which is, like I said, unfortunate. We do have players that can take his spot, though, which is really good. We might see a little bit more of Will Hayes, which is nice. So out of all that sort of negative, and we saw it last year as well, where we had a lot of injuries to players, 17 to be exact, but we saw the blooding of new guys, Ed Allen, Will Parker, Ned Long, TJ had a run at it as well. So we could see the emergence of Will Hayes, get a couple more games. Maybe he even comes in on King's birthday. We could, even though Demetia doesn't play the same role, has been smashing it in the VFL. If you've been watching my VFL reviews, I have heaps of praise in him for the last 3 or so weeks. So that could be something as well, and just do a little bit of shuffling around. But expect Lachie Schultz to be back for that Fremantle game on July 20th. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, so TJ is being assessed, he's been cleared to return to full training, which is really good. Has been maybe not dominating the VFL, but has had a really solid start to the VFL season. The biggest one, though, the absolute biggest one, is Dan McStay. Now, in Craig McRae's presser, I think it was last week before this Hawthorn game, he said McStay could return for the King's birthday game. The big question is, amazing if he can return. He trained really well today, and we'll see, training throughout the week. There's a couple more, there's 3 more training sessions throughout this week. Do we play him on King's birthday, or give him, that extra week off, which would be the bye, and then bring him in for the St Kilda game? And then, you're probably thinking, oh, but the Marvel turf sucks, let's bring him in for the next game. But we play 2 back-to-back Marvel games. We've got St Kilda, and then we've got the West Coast Eagles before we take on Carlton at the MCG. So you need to get him obviously fit and firing, and And I think, the Marvel turf, even though it is a bit hard, and that's where he did his knee, wasn't it? At Marvel, I want to say. No, it wasn't. Was it? Oh, no, was it doggy? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. I am just absolutely tripping out right now. But yeah, I would love to play him on King's birthday, and they probably will. Nah, I don't think they will. That's my call right now from Monday. I don't think. Oh, sorry, from Tuesday. I don't think they'll play him on King's birthday. I'd give him the extra week off just to get, I don't want him touch and go. I want him fit to play and fit to perform. Bring him in against St Kilda and absolutely pummel them to the ground at Marvel Stadium. Now, a couple of the other guys that are unavailable. So this one's interesting to me. So Jordan De Goey has commenced a 2-week training program as he recovers from an Achilles issue. Following this 2-week period, De Goey will be assessed on whether he can return to skills training, and a timeline on his return will be communicated in due course. So we know that De Goey is at least 2 weeks out from any return to play. So 2 weeks out is pretty much sitting him before that St Kilda game. So he'll have a block, a 3-week block of just absolute running, but that is just running. So we don't even know if he's going to be when he's ready for skills. So you got to think that when he's done with this 2-week running course, he then has to get into skills training and then another timeline. So we probably won't even see De Goey, just from what they're saying, maybe until Lachie Schultz returns in that Fremantle game. So like 4 to 6 weeks. So it's 2 weeks of running, and then you would think at least a week or two on skills to get his match fitness back up. That's not to say, do they put him through the VFL like many people are wanting him to? So that's just a really interesting one to me. But again, I would rather Jordan De Goey have this block of training, like a mini preseason, and that word just gets chucked out so many times. But I'd love for him to have a mini preseason and then come into that last half of the year, because from that Fremantle game, pretty much all MCG games except for Adelaide, but we go Fremantle, Richmond, Brisbane, Hawthorn, Adelaide, Melbourne into finals. You want Jordan De Goey fit and firing for all of those games. I don't need to bring him back for St Kilda, West Coast, Carlton, even Gold Coast, to be honest. So I think around that middle to end of July would be my return to play for De Goey, so that would give him a 4 to 5 week block of a mini preseason, which is clearly what De Goey needs. So Maynard is the next guy. So it's saying he's progressing really well with plantar fascia rupture, is not yet ready to commence a running program. Maynard is not expected to be available until post the bye. Now, this one's weird to me. So I don't know if they've gotten second opinions or anything like that, but last week Craig McRae said Maynard would be pretty much touch and go for the King's birthday. Like, they could play him. Now, if you watched my sideline with Dr. Ethan Alul, the osteo, we were saying, how can he play so quickly from a rupture if they're saying that he can play in 2 weeks' time? But now they're saying, actually, guys, it's not 2 weeks. It's not 2 weeks from when he done it. We're going to give him another 2 weeks, so he's going to play after the bye. So that would take him out for 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be about a 4-week injury. And that's if to say that he plays against St Kilda straight after the bye, because he still needs to do running. So Braden Mayard, you probably won't see him until maybe the West Coast or Carlton game, because there's no training program. He obviously wasn't at training today. I'll be keeping an eye on training this week to see how he goes, because next week during the bye, pretty sure they don't have training at all, unless they do training like inside. But I know they've got about 5 days off during that bye. So that's going to be a really interesting one. I don't think we're getting the full picture of how bad this rupture is, because when they said a 1 to 2 week injury, I thought that was wild as, but I'm also not a medical professional. So now that they're saying it's a little bit longer, it's going to go from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, hopefully not longer than a month out, because you want him returning towards that last half of the season. It looks like he probably will return as well with Lachie Schultz, with De Goey, with Maynard. Those are 3 really, really huge ins for that last third of the season. And then we've got Fin Macrae. He's commenced a running program, so he recovers from a shoulder injury. He's still got 6 to 8 weeks out. We probably won't see him for much of it at all. Probably comes back for VFL finals. And then Harvey Harrison, Reef McInnes, they've both done the ACL. They're both out for the season, so we won't see them again this year. But Ash Johnson, will probably see him throughout the last bit of the season, probably into VFL finals as well. So all in all, the list is looking good. The Lachie Schultz news threw me a little bit because he's such an important cog to our machine, but we get to see other players play that role, and I'm very excited to see more of our boy Will Hayes. The Braden Mayard thing, that's another weird one. That's probably going to be a 4 to 5 week injury, just based on what they're saying and everything that we do know at the moment. So it is going to be really interesting to see these guys come back in around the same time. You're not going to be rushing them. You're not going to be rushing them after the bye. You're going to give them every chance in the world. We are managing players. We're still winning. Chalk up a few wins. Chalk up the top 4, and then start bringing in these players to get them match fit, ready for a big finals series. But let me know your thoughts down below. How long are we gonna see these guys? How long until we see these guys come back into the squad? Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.